Here we are, another year, 2024. Today is September 10th, and we're doing another garden tour. See what I did new. It's a little reference for myself. See how things started, how it's going to wind up. Talk a little bit about mistakes here and there. Let's get going right up next to the patio, just out front of the house. We got the this is the bone set going off just now, just as a week ago. The Symphyiotrichum lave just about to pop. They're almost ready. My Zizia, the Zizia did well this year. Hosted a lot of the swallowtail caterpillars. I think these seeds are ready. The goldenrod held true, never moved a bit. It didn't seem to encroach in the area. It didn't seem to spread seed. But this thing was loaded all summer long. Flies, moths at night. You had all kinds of bugs on this all day long. There's some penstemon in there somewhere. It disappeared. Got the yarrow. That black yarrow. Now there was Symphyiotrichum laced in this little patch. And it seemed to spread, but it's not taking over. It's not gigantic. Like how I find a lot of Symphyiotrichum. If they live alone, they get huge. This just kind of spread around. It spread around and did its own thing. Little Agaratina altissima. I don't remember planting that there. I must have. I don't think there was seeds set down here. My Verbena hastata. Had another great year. All kinds of little inchworms and bugs hanging on this thing all year. It got powdery mildew for some reason. Got powdery mildew all over this. It wasn't a wet summer. It's got plenty of air to breathe. I'm not sure why the powdery mildew set in. The New England aster, Symphyiotrichum novienglii, just started going off a week ago as well. And it spread a little bit. It seems a little bit shorter this year. I think last year, it was taller. I think it was a little bit more up here. But it's doing well. It's got a lot of blooms this year. I'm happy about that. Give some color during the day, mid-September. And I extended this patch. See, I did the cardboard sheet mulching. And then wood chip on top. Oh no, this is the dyed mulch you get from Home Depot. Let's see what we planted. I got a whole strip. This is all Liatris novienglii. None of it blooming. Just getting its roots set for the season. We have a Monarda, Symphyiotrichum lave. We got the what's that? Heartleaf aster? I forget the species epithet. Clematis. Eurybia, more Symphyiotrichum, this Pseudonephalium, I believe it's it's got to be Pseudonephalium obtusifolium. And here we go, Trichostemma dichotomum, found seeds down at Kennybunk last winter, in November last year. You see the flowers, they pop at like 4 or 5 in the morning. They're not going off right now. And you can't see them this size out in the wild. I mean, these things are a foot, 14 inches wide. Another 15 inches, 16 inches tall. This is 1, 2, 3 plants. Just 3. They don't get this size. Definitely got its cultivated size here. Eurybia macrophylla. And then here's some Symphyiotrichums. I mean, everything I put in this patch were all seedlings I grew from the spring. And I planted these, I believe it was July 4th, July 5th. What else we put in? Another line of Eutrochium, Joe Pye. 1, 2, 3. There's another one in there somewhere. I put in, this is a New England aster I grew by seed. It kind of blends in with the stuff that's 3 years old. Dolingaria umbellata, the tall, flat top aster. I believe that's another Symphyotrichum. More the Trichostemma, the common name, the forked blue curls. Beautiful flower. I've got tons of seed. I mean, just these 5 plants alone, tons of seed. You can get that going again next year. And then some Pycnanthemum, some of the mountain mints. So you see, I tried to keep some of the species together. That was an issue I came through this year, was I did a lot of polka dotting of species, put them all around, and I think that's going to hurt. Like this Symphyotrichum right here, this will really take over a spot and might really shade out some of the smaller guys hanging out. It's all an experiment, It keeps me outside, getting sucked into the YouTube rabbit hole, you know? What else? I missed some stuff. The heartleaf aster, I have some here. They got chomped by groundhog again. Looks like, yeah, it's got blooms. Alright. This is Zizia. The golden Alexander. What else? More of the Agaritina. This was much bigger last year. This was a much bigger plant last year. I think it got munched by the groundhog. And then the Symphyotrichum you see all around. That's kind of, that might be butting its way around down under the soil, moving roots around. We have the coneflower. What is this? Rudbeckia laciniata, the green-headed coneflower. Also got munched to the ground by the groundhog, and it came back. 2 months later, it came back. It's got a couple blooms. You'll do better next year, buddy. You know, this time of year, I could see why people think this is unsightly. But they don't know. They don't know. I've had at least a good 8 hours of fun just hanging around this patch over the summer. Watching all that grow. Watching the caterpillars go up on the Zizia. Alright. Now, we're around the house. You can see the debris from mulch. I got wood chip. Wood chip dropped twice this year. I must have had 35-ish yards of wood chip drop this year. And this will all be pretty much gone after the winter, springtime. You won't even see the wood chip here anymore. And I have no qualms about losing this part of the lawn. No issue at all. Some year this won't be a lawn. We'll see. Alright, side of the house. Here's an update on the side of the house with the Eurybia macrophylla having a banger year. My goodness. They're actually, some of them are about to go to seed. They're past their time. What a show this year on the Eurybia macrophylla, the broadleaf aster. And soon to come are the heartleaf aster. I mean, yeah, just in this shot alone, there's got to be 1,200 flowers, little buds coming on. There's one there, really tall. This one's a little much shorter. Both heartleaf aster. Just coming along now. My Comptonia, starting to fill out. Nice little touch. I mean, it's pretty squat. What would you say, 1.5 feet tall? I don't think they get much bigger than that out in the wild either. We have a dead stock of a Pachyra aurea. We'll see if this thing died over the summer. I'm not sure if that will come back next year, if it sets seed. We'll see. Ambrosia, we got some ragweed. We got some more ragweed. I hope to be collecting seed of this this winter. I never did last winter. You know, if I could trick people into planting ragweed everywhere, I'll try my darndest. I'm sure it's got a lot of host-specific caterpillars that hang out on this thing. It's got tons of seed for the birds in the winter. Deep into the winter when there's nothing else to eat, they're munching rose hips and ambrosia and sunflower seeds and a joe pie. Tomorrow morning, I'm donating all my seedlings to a group down in Kennebunk, the Planeteers of Southern Maine. This was a whole project in its own. This is only probably half of what I started with the season. There's probably 1,200 seedlings here. Each one of these trays being 50 to a tray. About 1,200 seedlings. I think I started off the year with about 2,300. So this is only half of what I got. This deserves a whole nother video in itself. What a learning process. A lot of shortcomings that came with this. But for what they are in the tiny little seed cells each one of these plants are, and they're doing pretty darn well. And I'm giving them to an organization that can spend more time being more meticulous and get these things in the ground in the next 3 weeks or so before we start getting more frosts. I'm not going to delve too deep into this. This is a whole nother video in itself, which I did not get enough video of this year. I took some photos, so maybe it's just going to be commentary. And get a whiteboard going. Maybe do the old Adam Savage. Is that what he did? He did the old whiteboard. Trying to draw out his stuff. So, with all that mulch I had this year, man, did I spread all of it. Cardboard sheet mulch down this whole garden side. You'll see it once we start going around the patch further down. You see I put some in the ground. There's the Erictides. Those are an annual. There's my New England blazing star. The blazing star. I got a bunch of blazing stars in the ground here. New England aster. There's my spirea. There's a strong scent of a skunk in the air. We'll see if we'll come face to face with that guy. Looks like there's another, I believe that's another Eurybia macrophylla down there. And this is a Schizactrum. It's a bulrush. That guy's doing well this year. I'll be getting more seed off that guy this year. And my Joe Pie. I mean, this thing was, what a stunner this year. This thing is 7 feet tall. Probably 7 feet around. This is one plant. I believe it's, I forget, I think it's Muticum is the species on this one. Muticum. Huge. This is one plant with there's probably 5,000 flowers on this thing. And we're at this point probably 3 weeks ago. The sky around this thing loaded with 100 moths on this every night. I think it's just too cold for them now. It's now getting up into like the mid 40s at night. I think all the moths have taken all the food they can and put their eggs out, and they're done. What a beautiful plant. And I grew about 200 seedlings of the Joe Pie. Not of this plant, but of at least 4 or 5 other Joe Pies from, different little DNA patch from, other towns. It's not all from these cultivated plants. That's one of the ideas behind the garden too, is have a deep genetic pool here. That I'm not putting down seed, clone after clone after clone down here. You're not getting brother and sister plants. So I'm not sure if I even harvested seed off this last year. Let's keep going. I've stayed way too long on that plant. I admired that. I must have spent at least 15 hours this year admiring that plant right there. This is my butterfly milkweed. I actually cardboard sheet mulched over this milkweed earlier this year, and it wasn't coming out of the ground at all. So I cardboard sheet mulched this whole area to get ready for the seedlings. And all of a sudden, late July, all of a sudden this started coming up. No, like early August, this thing started coming up, and it just popped right through the cardboard. So it's blooming now, early September, right about the time it shouldn't be up here in Maine. We have an opossum. I planted more. There's silverrod, some Bidens, Symphyotrichum, an Agaritina. It's a plant that probably a goldenrod, a reddish color. There's a Vernonia. There's some of that Calistegia. I believe this is native. I don't want it taking over this patch. This stuff is ruthless. I planted something there. I don't know. There's the Liatris. All the Liatris from Kennybunk. Dolingaria. Blooming. Wants to get out. And this is a Rudbeckia or an Echinacea. I believe these are native out to, or this species at least, native out to Pennsylvania. Western Pennsylvania. So I'm not putting it in the ground here. I really want to be a purist in this garden. Like, as far as I want to go is Massachusetts, according to Bonap data. That's as far as I want to go. Here's all my Joe Pye weed. Looking like shit. Looking so bad. As of like 2 or 3 weeks ago, they just started. They are not doing well. And I don't think they'll make it. One's blooming. We'll see. I'll hear from the Planeteers next year and see how everything went. What did I plant here? Spirea tomentosa. Right about here next to the house. Spirea tomentosa. There's 4 of them here. A giant chunk of Joe Pye. These also look bad. These have been in the ground for 3 weeks, and for some reason, they're just not liking it. Looks like I put a lobelia here. Lobelia cardinalis. Alright, some grasses. There's some grasses I put in the ground, and then down the edge of this hillside, Symphyotrichum. These are all Symphyotrichums, trying to make a nice big hedge on the side of this hill. Alright. More Symphyotrichum. Planted more stuff here. There's more Lobelia cardinalis. Lobelia syphilitica. There's the anemone virginiana going to seed. I gotta collect seed of that soon. Some sunflower, some helianthus. I don't know the species. I will when I have some time this winter. I took a lot of photos of this. I'll key it out. Physostegia. The obedient plant. That was a seedling this year from Rebel Hill. That thing loved it. That thing was blooming forever. Stinging nettle. This is my bone set going off now. The Eupatorium. And here's an upskirt of that Joe Pye weed. Again, that's one plant. That is one Joe Pye weed. And there's more seedlings I put in, scattered in. We'll see how they do next year. More seedlings. My Onothra. There's an evening primrose growing here. Just seeds from a plant last year, the year before. What's good about those take the brunt of the Japanese beetles. When the Japanese beetles come through to munch away, the evening primrose that takes the brunt. Got some goldenrod. Again, I don't know the species. The goldenrod I gotta spend some time on the Asteraceae. Some more mountain mints. Another pycnanthemum. There's another zizia. The golden Alexander hiding in there. Erictides. Heracifolium, I believe. The burnweed. Going to seed. What else we got? More goldenrod. The resident mouser. Hanging about, looking for food. There's more seedlings here. More Spirea tomentosa. Some grasses. Get out of the shot, dude. I'm filming here. The white walnut, this butternut, was growing up on that corner over there this year. I wanted to remove it. Whatever, if it died. I pulled it out of the ground. It had been there for 2 years. Pulled it out of the ground, and this giant 6-foot taproot came out with it. So I knew it wanted to live. I put it down at a little better spot at the base of this hill. It's got new growth, so I think she'll do well. We'll see. In time. Next year's update. Check on me next year. Senna. We got a Senna hebecarpa. Again from Rebel Hill. And we've got seed pods. That means we got seedlings next year. As long as I can catch those seed pods before they break open and spread all over the ground. We've got seed pods. And I'll be growing those next year. There's my Rosa Virginiana. We got the Solidago sempervirens, the seaside goldenrod. Ooh, excuse me. Some more Joe Pye. I mean, nothing. I mean, this thing is like a 3-foot patch. That one as well. It is nothing compared to that guy up there. Huge monster. I believe it's a different species. I know that one is for sure. You see those more lanceolate leaves. Got more stinging nettle. A surprising host to many caterpillars. Stinging nettle. If you can afford it in some spot of your garden, you should put it in. Let those buggers feed. There's another helianthus. Fell right over. Just on the weight of its own bloom. We got a circumference of probably 2 inches on that guy. Big one. Just couldn't support its own weight. My Spirea, my trusty Spirea. This is, I think, the first plant I put in this garden 3 years ago. There's still some white blooms out there, right there, and a lot of seed heads. What is this? The Euthymia, the grass-leaved goldenrod. Heartleaf aster, going in there. Finally bloomed. Didn't bloom last year. I just put it in last year, so it's blooming now. More seaside goldenrod. Goldenrod. There's a lot of seedlings. Little grasses I put on the edge here. Monarda. There's some Monarda. Symphyotrichum. Look at this patch. This thing is just a dense bush. Zigzag goldenrod. Hasn't bloomed yet. Mid-September. About to bloom. Solidago flexicalis. More Joe Pye, just a little diminutive thing. More of the woodland. That's a helianthus. I believe it's the woodland sunflower. Couldn't tell you the species. Another agaritina. More goldenrod. Goldenrod. Here's a New England aster. Getting a funky candelabra shape going on. And my Dolingaria, the flat-topped aster, fell underneath its own weight, still blooming. Excuse me? Dude, you need to chill. Fell beneath its own weight. Got new blooms at the bottom. Still blooming at the top. What do we have? New England aster up there. And a bunch of Symphyotrichum. Ooh. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see my face. More evening primrose. Looks like that woodland sunflower kind of spread this year. More anemone. Virginiana. Those seed heads. You could see how far I went with the wood chip this year. Moved all 35, 40-ish yards of wood chip. Got this all cardboarded underneath. Trying to keep out some of the, where is it? There's an example. Glaucoma, Hederaceae, the creeping Charlie. More Symphyotrichum. That was a transplant from last year. There's another mountain mint. Another mountain mint. Pycnanthemum. And my sumac. This was a transplant last year. I still can't tell. It's not going to bloom. I don't know if this is male or female. I guess we'll see. In time. More Rudbeckia laciniata, the green-headed coneflower. Nothing. There's no height to it. No nothing. No stalk popped out of it. Again, this thing, groundhog got it. Groundhog got it. Those bastards. In this section, let's see, this was just starting this section last year. Right next to the patio. And we put in some pseudonephalium. Now this time I smartened up and I kept all my species together. We got pseudonephalium, obtusifolium. I've got my Hypericum gentianoides, the orange grass, I believe the common name is, and then more of the trichostemma. You can see these aren't as big as the ones from out front of the house. These were put in the ground probably a month later. And we've got some Chamacrista fasciculata, the sensitive pea, partridge pea, and we have seed pods. I don't think it really likes this spot, as you can tell, but it's still going to seed. Still producing seed. You can see, again, I smartened up. I kept my species together in lines. That way there's a lot less competition next year with seeds popping up and roots going this way and that way. Now here's another plant I got from Rebel Hill this year. The common name, the sneezeweed, the Helenium autumnale. Look at those beautiful flowers. I got two of them. This was just a little seedling earlier this year from Rebel Hill. I bought two of them. There's one, a woodland sunflower. There we go. And then here's the other Helenium. What a gorgeous flower. I have to grow seedlings of this next year. More Joe Pye. Again, just a little diminutive thing. Probably 3 feet tall. Verbena hastata. This got, again, munched by groundhog, so it got stunted, and it's still blooming now. Mid-September, even though the other one behind us, on the other side of the house, hasn't been blooming for the last 3 weeks. This one's still going off. And we got some green-headed coneflower. Again, Rudbeckia laciniatum. And we're almost back around, but we have to take a little detour. The section I planted of only annuals this year. There's a little patch. I made a little, probably 6 foot by 3 foot patch that I cardboard sheet mulched, and I put in all my annuals. You can see I put in a lot of Bidens, and that's the entire patch. This is all some species of Bidens. The beggar ticks is the common name. This whole patch, Bidens. And there's a few sparse little, there's more pseudonephalium, again an annual. And we got Persicaria, sagittata, these little pink things. The tear thumb, the arrow leaf tear thumb. I mean, these things, this can really, that stem there can really, you can see some barbs in that shot. This will cut you. You drag your hand along the opposite way, that thing will cut you. So this whole patch become Bidens, except the pseudonephalium, a little bit of the Persicaria, and then these giant leaf things are my xanthium. Now I found 3 seed pods out behind SMCC down there in South Portland. 3 seed pods last year by the ocean. Got them going. Again, these things are an annual. This is my patch of annuals I got going on. And just did a wonderful job. Loved it here. And you can see all the seed pods I'm going to get for this coming winter. Now, I'm not sure how prized this plant is in a native garden. But it's something that might pique someone's interest. You see a plant like this, it's unlike any of the typical nursery plants that you'd find, especially in the native scene. You find the New England aster, verbena, the sunflowers, the rudbeckia, the monardas, but something like this xanthium strumarium, is just so wild. And the flowers are inconspicuous. I'm not exactly sure how they pollinate. I'm not sure if that's, never mind that gunshot. The neighbors. Just an interesting plant. The rough cocklebur is the common name. And the leaves are like a cat's tongue. It is just sandpaper. And those seed pods are sharp as can be. Just an interesting plant to have. I've taken a lot of photos of it, from seedling to flowering. Now to the going to fruit stage, I have a lot of photos. And I'll get some photos of it in the winter too. See what these seed pods look like. I don't think they burst open on their own. I had to take pliers with wire pliers with a little cutting edge in between the handle and slice those open just to pull the seeds out. Those things are worse than a chestnut. Well, now to finish this tour, we're at 35 minutes. I gotta get to bed. Tomorrow's gonna be non-stop. A friend of mine dropped off some dogwood We'll see what you can see. There's some stress pigments there, that's for sure. I don't think those leaves are supposed to be that red. I think there's some stress going on. There's a zizia down there, which somehow becomes a rudbeckia at the top. I'm not sure how those two will battle it out next year. Another sunflower, another helianthus. There's that staghorn sumac. I'm looking down the hill now for reference in the video. There's the hill. You see the slope. There's the old trusty burn barrel where my grandparents burn all their junk. That is another part of doing this whole hillside, is that for over 20 years my grandparents have been burning their plastic, their paper, batteries, light bulbs in a barrel, and they just dumped it all over this hillside. So I'm trying to wild an area that I'm not going to be digging through. There's glass all through this section here. Glass and plastic and carbon and who knows what of nasty, nasty stuff that has been burnt and dumped along this hillside. So I'm just planting plants through it. Just so some year I don't have to dig through this. We can just observe from a distance. And in most of this mulch, this whole hillside is at least 4 inches deep. This section's probably like 7 inches deep of wood chip. And we'll see in the spring how much this stuff is decomposed and fallen down into the ground. We'll see how much that soil eats. More lobelia. I think that gave me like 4 flowers last year, and now it's doing a lot better this year. Get some seed off that this winter. There's that New England aster, that candelabra one. In my opuntia, given to me by my friend David, I actually put it outside here this spring. It didn't look too hot for about a month or two, and then actually through the summer, didn't mind it and grew 2 pads. Those 2 greenish pads right there, the greener ones, those are new growth. That's new growth this year. So here's hoping this guy makes it through another winter. Maybe we'll see a flower next year. I'd be just thrilled to see that. Planted a mountain mint. Evening primrose. Joe Pye is a New England aster. There's a really nice contrast here. When that thing's in full bloom, all these purple aster flowers going off, and the sunflower right beside it. I mean, nice warm day, you're going to have bumblebees all over this. Even in September, bumblebees all over this section. And this goldenrod's going off now. Again, couldn't tell you what species. This one, my trusty goldenrod, this guy blooms in, early June. This guy was blooming in early June. It's still got some blooms coming off the main stem. Just an afterthought of the rest of it. This thing must have bloomed for like a month and a half. Every night loaded with moths. Every day, flies, wasps, whatever you can imagine was all over these. So it's nice to have another species of goldenrod growing beside it, because these just started blooming about 3 weeks ago. Almost about 2 months after this started blooming, these started blooming. So it's nice to stagger the blooms, that there's always a little bit of food for the bugs. If they're hanging about, there's food, especially goldenrod. Goldenrod is the #1 beneficial herbaceous plant you can put in your native garden if you're trying to help the bugs. That's it, goldenrod. Another Physostegia. This was a new seedling this year. Again, Rebel Hill. I think that's all I bought from this year, just Rebel Hill. I did so much work with the Audubon Society that I wasn't able to get to them this year. More senna. No seed pods on this one. No seed pods on that senna. And there's the other one. You can see the top of the other one right there. That one has the seed pods. Another Onothra, the evening primrose. We got a Juncus. I don't know. The path rush. It's a path rush. There's my other milkweed. This is the butterfly milkweed, tuberosa, Asclepias tuberosa. Tons of seed pods. Man, they're just like fingers hanging up. Tons of seed pods. And speaking of milkweed, there's some other lobelia. I got a grass, some kind of graminoid. Speaking of, the strawberry. The wild strawberry filled in like crazy. It was just a little patch like that big last year, and it's filled in that whole section. We have the Onothra fruticosa. That spread really well this year. I gotta get seeds off this. I don't even know if those seeds are viable. We'll see. We'll do some experimenting. And speaking of milkweed, Asclepias, here's my swamp milkweed I passed up on when I was walking down there. My bad. Here's the Asclepias incarnata, and I have seed pod. This was the first year it bloomed, and I have seed pods. I have at least 6 coming. There's like 3 or 4 fully developed ones there, and you can see those little green tips up there. Those are more seed pods coming on. Hopefully, I can propagate a lot of milkweed. We'll see. We'll see what my roster looks like next year. We'll have to spend this winter overlooking the draft. We're going to do the BDSM main draft of plants I'm going to start propagating. I'll get it live on YouTube. We'll see. We'll get an audience going. Zigzag goldenrod. Now that was from the Audubon Society 2 years ago. Decent patch. I got some galls on it. You see those guys? Got some galls. Got some little parasitic wasps hanging out in there. My Monarda also got the powdery mildew this year. I don't know why. I mean, it's just in the wide open. It's not like it's stagnant. You're getting a breeze coming through here all the time. I don't know why the powdery mildew is setting on these, but still blooming. Summer's still blooming. It's been going off for at least 2 months. This thing, the hummingbird moths, hummingbirds, bumblebees are all over the Monarda. What another great beneficial plant is Monarda, the bee bombs. Oh, that's about it. Got some more grasses growing here. I think this is a panicum, Panicum virginianum. You could see, let's see. You see all those little male and female parts hanging out. All those flowers. Maybe if you're lucky, I'll put up some macro shots over this video right now. I've got another Monarda. There's a pycnanthemum down there getting choked out. There's my rose. There's my other sumac, which I weed whacked the bark off of, and then a giant branch fell off of. So that sumac right there was probably this tall, and then I weed whacked it. A giant branch fell off, and it's cast on. It's gonna need till next year to really do something, and then maybe it'll flower. Maybe it'll flower. I could see if it's a female or if it's a male, because these staghorn sumacs are dioecious. If you see them growing on the side of the road and you see all those little red little pine cones at the top, that's a female. If you see a stand of staghorn sumac with no little red pine cones, if you're in the winter driving along, you see none, that's a whole stand of male. Back at the seedlings. Again, this is my last night with them. Probably 1,200 seedlings here. Getting a nice dose of water. Getting wet. I'm happy. I'm happy with the results. And the whole gardening thing just kept me out. It kept me outside at night instead of going in, looking at the screen, watching another useless YouTube video. And I have all this to show from, a little bit of knowledge behind it, and some new people I know.